Welcome to this presentation. You are watching VLSI Design Lecture Series. And today we are going to speak about the shifters. The shift operation is another essential arithmetic operation that requires adequate hardware support. It is used extensively in floating point units, scalars, and multiplications by constant numbers. Uh, this can be implemented as a combination of add and shift operation, that is the multiplication. And shifting a data word left or right over a constant amount is a trivial hardware operation and is implemented by the appropriate signal wiring. A programmable shifter, on the other hand, is more complex and requires active circuitry. In essence, such a shifter is nothing less than the intricate multiplexer circuits. A simple 1-bit shifter is shown in this diagram. You can see in this diagram. Okay, which depending upon the control signals and the input board is either shifted left or right, or else it remains unchanged. Multi-bit shifters can be built by cascading a number of these units. So this approach rapidly becomes complex, unwieldy, and ultimately too slow for large shift values. Therefore, a more structured approach is advisable. And now let us discuss about the two commonly used the shift structures, which are called barrel shifter and a logarithmic shifter. So in binary operation, shifting as a bitwise operation that shifts the operand I to n minus I and places the to the right or left. So this is the original data, and that is 1011 is the original data. So after shifting 2 bits, you'll get the value as 1110, which replaces the unleft positions with 1. So this diagram shows the primary crossbar switch using a NMOS transistors. So the signal can be transferred in and out of the source and drain of the signal if the gate signal is high. So when the gate signal is high, the transistor will be in the on condition, which passes the signal at one end to the other end. So either side transformation is possible using this switch. So depending upon the control signals, the input word is either shifted left or right, or else it remains unchanged. Multi-bit shifters can be built by cascading a number of these units called barrel shifter and logarithmic shifter. The barrel shifter is consists of an array of transistors in which a number of rows equals the word length of the data. So the structure of the barrel shifter is shown in this diagram, and in this case the both are set equal to 4. The control wires are routed diagonally through the array. A major advantage of this shifter is that the signal has to pass through at most one transmission gate. In other words, the propagation delay is theoretically constant and independent of the shift value of the shifter size. This is not true in reality, however, because the capacitance at the input of the buffers rise linearly with the maximum shift width. An important property of this circuit is that the layout size is not dominated by the active transistors, as in the case of all other arithmetic circuits, but by the number of wires running through the cell. More specifically, the size of the cell is bounded by the pitch of the metal wires. Another important consideration when selecting a shifter is the format in which the shift values must be presented. So from this diagram, we can see that the barrel shifter needs a control wire for every shift bit. For example, a 4-bit shifter needs 4 control signals. To shift over 3 bits, the signals SH3 to SH0 takes on the value 1000. So only one of the signals is high in a processor. The required shift value normally comes in an encoded binary format, which is substantially more compact, and for instance, the encoded control word needs only 2 control signals and is represented as 1 for a shift over 3 bits. To translate later representation into the former, an extra module called a decoder is required here. So this diagram shows how the bits are transferred when 1 that is for 0 it is I0, I1, I2, I3, and when the shift is 1 bit, then your outputs will be I3, I0, I2 and I1 and I2. When 2 bit shifts are done, the output will be equal to I2, I3, I0, I1. And 3 bit shift is done, it is I1, I2, I3, I0. The layout size is dominated by the active transistors as in the case of all other arithmetic circuits, but by the number of wires running through the cell. So as I said earlier, barrel shifter needs a control wire for every shift bit. And now let us focus on the logarithmic shifters. The logarithmic shifter uses a staged approach, and while the barrel shifter uses a single array of pass transistors. A shifter with a maximum shift width of m consists of log 2 m stages, where the ith stage either shifts over 2 power I or passes the data unchanged. So the total shift is decomposed into stages of 2. Speed of shifting n bits depend on log n, and number of transistors is equal to 2 log n into n. While the barrel shifter implements the whole shifter as a single array of pass transistors, the logarithmic shifter uses the staged approach. So an example of the shifter with the maximum shift value of 7 bit is shown in this diagram. And shifter with maximum shift width of m consists of log 2 m stages, where the ith stage either shifts over 2 power I or passes the data unchanged. An example of a shifter of maximum shift value of 7 bits is shown, and for instance, to shift over 5 bits, the first stage is set to shift mode, the second to pass mode, and the last stage again to shift mode. And you can notice that the control word for this shifter is already encoded and no separate decoder is required. The speed of the logarithmic shifter depends on the shift width in a logarithmic way, since m bit shifters requires log 2 m stages. Furthermore, the series connection of pass transistors slows the shifter down for a larger shift values. So a careful introduction of the intermediate buffers is therefore necessary here. And in general, we conclude that a barrel shifter is appropriate for smaller shifters for large shift values, and the logarithmic shifter is more effective in terms of both area and speed. And furthermore, the logarithmic shifter is easily parameterized, allowing an automatic generation. And the most important concept of this is the regularity of in an arithmetic operator can lead to dense and high-speed circuit implementation. The subset of large number of arithmetic circuits required in the design of microprocessor and micro signal processors can be seen, and beside adders and multipliers and shifters, other operators such as comparators, dividers, counters, and operators like sine, cosine, tangent are often needed. So a full analysis of these circuits is beyond the scope of our the series, and we have to be aware of that most of the design ideas introduced are applied to these operators also as well. For instance, comparators can be devised with a linear, square root, and logarithmic dependence of on the number of bits. In fact, some operators are simple derivatives of the adder or multiplier structures. And for example, we can show how 2's complement subtractor can be realized by combining 2's complement adder with an extra inversion stage, or how a subtractor can be used to implement a greater than or equal to b. And now let us focus on the design of arithmetic logic unit or ALU. The core of any microprocessor or microcontroller is the arithmetic logic unit, and the ALU combines addition and subtraction with other operations such as shifting and bitwise logical operations. An ALU taken from the 64-bit high-end microprocessor is shown in this diagram. And here it consists of 2 levels of wide multiplexers, a 64-bit adder, a logic unit, and an operator merging multiplexer. and the right back bus driver. The first pair of 9:1 multiplexer selects from the 9 different input sources, 3 of which are from register files and caches. The other 6 are bypass paths that come directly from the 6 ALUs. And the microprocessor in question can issue 6 integer instructions in one cycle. One of the bypass loops actually feeds the output of the ALU back to its own input, creating a single cycle loop that defines the critical path. The second 5:1 multiplexer on the A input performs a partial shifting of the operand, while the 2:1 multiplexer on the B input simply inverts the operand to implement subtraction. The adder executes 2's complement addition and subtraction on the operands A and B, and 2's complement subtraction is performed by inverting all the bits of the operand B and using the 2:1 multiplexer and by setting the carry into 1. The sum selection block not only implements the sum selection but also merges the output of the arithmetic and logic units. Finally, a strong buffer drives the loop back bus, which presents a large load to the ALU. For example, for a 6 issues Intel HP Itanium processor, the bus has to connect to all 6 units, translating into more than 2 mm of wire length in a 0.18 micrometer technology. When added to the load from the register file, it presents over 0.5 picofarad of capacitor load. An ALU represents a typical example of a bit sliced design. Each slice in each block is pitch matched, which minimizes the vertical routing. A floor plan of the 64-bit ALU, which is shown in this diagram, and this floor plan intercell routing is done horizontally in metal 3 except for the long horizontal wires between the adder stages 1 and 2 and 3, which are laid in a combination of metal 3 and metal 4. For example, if the adder is implemented as a radix 4 CLA, the longest wire after the second PG stage crosses 48 cells. So the loop back wiring is routed in the top level metal. In case of multiple issue microprocessor, these buses span across the ALU, and the number of loopback buses frequently determines the bit pitch in a multi-issue ALUs. So in our example, 9 64-bit buses have to cross back over the ALU. And to avoid needing to add extra wiring space, the bit width is set to 9. And the bus wire pitches will also be set accordingly. Since these wires are long, they are designed with double width and at least double spacing to reduce the resistance and capacitance. Thank you.